Hello, my name is Matthew Loader. I'm here today speaking on behalf of South Australia's expert panel on planning reform, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit about why the expert panel has been established and the process they're undertaking and how you, as a valued community member, can have input along the way. So today I'm going to introduce the panel members to you. I'm also going to be talking about the panel's terms of reference, which outline the scope of their work. I'm going to talk to you about the process, including how the panel intends to engage with South Australia's community and about how you can get involved. The expert panel is chaired by Brian Hayes QC, and it has 4 other members who are Natalia Buyenko, Stephen Haynes, Theo Maris and Simone Fogarty. The panel was appointed by the state government in February of 2013 to undertake a comprehensive review of South Australia's planning system. The terms of reference for the panel include a strong focus on South Australia's planning legislation, but also on the governance and administrative arrangements that sit around South Australia's planning system. So a strong focus on the Development Act, which is the core of the planning system, but also the panel will be looking at other legislation that impact upon good planning outcomes. The panel is required to consider government policy, but they're not bound by it. They will therefore be looking at critical government policies such as the desire to create a vibrant inner city, to promote livable, affordable and healthy neighbourhoods across the state, and to ensure that our regional communities are thriving and sustainable. The panel is also required, in its terms of reference, to consult widely. They'll be consulting with community members, with industry, with councils who are very important players in the planning system, and with members of parliament who ultimately will have to have the say on what type of planning system we will have in the future. They are also required to look closely at interstate and international best practice and research to understand the options that we could apply here in South Australia to make our planning system one of the best in the world. Ultimately, the panel will be required to propose to government recommendations for a new statutory framework, new governance arrangements and new administrative practices to set up our planning system for the future, and they will be undertaking their report in December 2014. The panel is supported by 2 reference groups to provide critical input during the course of its work. One reference group is composed of a range of external stakeholders, groups which have a critical input in the planning system: community, environmental, business and professional bodies, as well as local government. The panel is also supported by a government agency reference group, which recognises that planning is a whole of government issue as well as being a whole of community issue. The panel is not confining its engagements to those 2 reference groups. It is also undertaking stakeholder engagement with a range of community, environmental and business groups to understand the issues that they see in the planning system that they would like to see addressed. The panel is also going to be undertaking much wider community engagement to get a sense of the types of things that South Australians, whether they come from the regions or the city, would like to see the planning system achieve in the future. The panel is undertaking its work in 2 broad streams of activity over the course of the next 2 years. The first stream is engagement, listening and scoping the issues during the course of 2013, moving into discussing options and alternatives in the first half of 2014, and finally developing a preferred model and testing that model in the second half of 2014, allowing the panel to deliver a final report to the government in December 2014. At the same time, the panel will be undertaking research all the way along to ensure that what it is hearing is tested by comparisons and evidence to support options for our future planning system. They are starting by reviewing our current system and understanding some of the issues that may need to be addressed in the future. They will then be moving progressively towards looking at best practice and alternatives from around the globe to identify potential reforms that could be adapted to South Australian circumstances. And finally, the panel will be developing a preferred model for the South Australian planning system, which will line up with the feedback received during the engagement process. The panel will be producing 4 reports during the course of its work. These will be critical to provide insights into what the panel has heard and to outline potential directions for our future planning system. The first report will come out in December 2013. It will outline what the panel has heard in the first round of engagement and set out the questions that the panel now believes need to be addressed as part of the process. The second report will be an options paper. This will be released in May 2014. It will seek to explore different options and alternatives that may be able to address those issues and questions that were identified earlier on. In August 2014, the panel will then look to release a paper outlining its preferred model for South Australia's future planning system. And this will be released to enable people to provide feedback preparatory to the panel's final report, which will come out in December 2014. It's very important during all stages of this work that the community, that business groups, that professionals who work in the planning system are able to stay connected to the process and get involved at the various stages of consultation. This web address will give you the details about how you can get connected and involved in this process.